Right. Well, welcome to Win with BII. My name is Dawn Funk, and I'm actually coming to you live down here in Florida. It's been an exciting last year, and my family and I have decided to move down to the beautiful Emerald Coast. And I am so honored and excited to just bring back this podcast to life. And I couldn't think of anyone more special and exciting for you guys to hear from today than my friend, Dr. Amanda Brown, who I'm going to bring on in just a second. But again, please make sure that you subscribe to this. If you're listening or watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure that you share with any women that you have on your heart that maybe are talking about weird symptoms, weird things that they have going on. Please be bold. Please share with them about this, YouTube channel. Or if you like to listen to things, you can go find us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Again, Win with BII. But I don't want to waste any more time. Like I said, am so excited to just kick this back off again. And so my dear friend, actually, she's a new friend, but she's going to become a dear friend. Actually, just a conversation that we were just having. I'm like, okay, there's a lot that's going to happen even after this, talk that we're going to have today, and just more things that we're going to do together to bless ladies. But Dr. Brown, and just let me know if that's what you like to call you as well throughout the podcast. But please just tell us about yourself and share with us your BII story.
All right. Well, I want to just pause and just thank you so much for having me. I know that BII is a super serious issue, and I'm so passionate, and I love talking with women about it. And I'm just so glad to have this connection with you. So I really appreciate you having me on here. And yes, so it's Dr. Amanda Savage Brown, and I always just go by Amanda. But so you can feel free to call me that throughout the podcast. So a little bit about me and then my BII story. So I have been working in women's health and wellness for about 25 years. So just completely dating myself. And initially I worked at the molecular level while I was earning a PhD. And I studied why chromosomes in our eggs sometimes don't separate, and we get an increased risk for having babies with Down syndrome as we age. And then I worked in public health as a public health scientist on different women's health issues. And then a little over 10 years ago, I went back to graduate school so I could be a clinical psychotherapist. And so now I work one-on-one and in groups with women. But I've merged that love of science with therapy. And so I just use evidence-based, science-backed, research-based approaches, and I help women who are struggling with all different kinds of things. So people pleasing, something I call empathy entrapment, which it's funny, I've noticed a lot of women on these journeys are like this, where we're very highly attuned to the people around us and what they're thinking and what they're feeling and what they need from us. And it can kind of lead us to a disconnection from ourselves. The other area that I work with a lot, and this is kind of a broad way of saying it, is that part of the mind that we all have, that it's well-meaning and it tries to fix the way we feel on the inside, kind of that pain of being less than or not good enough. It tries to fix that by fixing our bodies. And women, and I just work with women, and we do that in a number of different ways, and breast implants is one of the ways that we might do that. All kinds of body image struggles, eating disorders, all of those things. So my mission is to help women reclaim their bodies, their minds, and their hearts from, all that kind of toxic social messaging that leads us to journeys like ours. And so, my BII journey, like all these women that I'm talking about, in 2006, I decided, well, I need to restore my deflated post-pregnancy, post-nursing breasts. And I got breast implants, and I had them for about 12 years. And I say this all the time. I like to say I got way more than I bargained for from them. So I tolerated a lot of problems. I had a lot of local issues with them, like they were freezing cold, which doesn't sound like a really big deal, but I mean, they were really freezing cold. They also didn't move because I had really severe capsular contraction. They were extremely painful and highly sensitive. So wearing bathing suits, wearing bras, hugging people, snuggling my youngest daughter, it was really just a difficult thing for me. And I tolerated it. My breasts looked great. And I didn't actually show them off because surprisingly, I got kind of self-conscious of my augmented chest. And I've talked to literally countless women who identify with that same exact experience. So, I just kind of tolerated it. My doctor had told me, and I know that he meant what he said, and he was not being dishonest. He told me that they were lifetime devices, and that because they were gummy bear, that they were never ever going to harm me the way that those silicone breast implants did in the 90s. And, that if they got cut, that they were going to maintain their shape and that I was safe. And so I just kind of clung to that because I did not want to have that surgery to get them out, even though I knew I didn't want to age with them in my body. I was terrified of getting them out. My sister is a breast cancer survivor, and I took care of her after her double mastectomy and those drains and all of that. I was like, oh, I'm just going to deal with these problems that I'm having, and I just wanted to avoid the surgery. So, and I felt kind of like a fraud working as like a women's self-acceptance specialist and sitting behind these implants that I didn't want. I literally didn't want them, but I wasn't acting on my behalf to get them out. I was just didn't want to get put under general and all that stuff. So fast forward, what made me move forward was I had a sudden shape change in one of my gummy bear implants after a routine mammogram. And I just knew, like, my wise mind said, it's time, let this be your change catalyst. You've got to get them out. And this is why I like to share this part of my story with the BII community. And I really like to share it with providers because I started scheduling consultations to get my breast implants removed. And Dawn, I literally was being gaslit over a condition that I didn't even know existed. I didn't know about breast implant illness. It was 2018 and I had no social media. So I go into these consults, please take these out. What do you mean take them out? I don't want them. I don't want to age with them. I think this is ruptured. And well, it's just time to replace them, which was a huge shock to me because I'd been told they were lifetime devices. And then they started saying, have you been reading that stuff on social media? Are you believing that stuff you've heard? And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. But I became very concerned as a women's health specialist about the women who did identify with that experience. And I thought, what is happening in the world? I've got to get out from my rock. And so I got a Facebook account and joined groups, and I saw countless, as you know, countless stories of women and photographic proof, that you can't argue with. And, women with these deteriorating health conditions, and it reversed after explant. So I read the symptoms and I did see a lot of things that I identified with. And I'm going to be really honest here. I was also a little skeptical, at least for myself, because I didn't want to hope that I was going to feel better after explant. So I was like, well, a lot of these are non-specific, looks like aging or hormone changes. And, but then a part of me was like, maybe this is why I've had chronic yeast infections. Maybe this is why I've had, unbelievably premature perimenopause in my early 30s, maybe this is why, and then what I never connected, and no doctors connected, was, and this part's always hard for me to talk about, was I had chronic pain and I had chronic inflammation. I thought that was related to over exercising, and I used to train very hard in a gym. And so I thought I had just kind of done that to myself. But what was happening, I was developing a disability in my upper body. So I had I was on a wait list to see a neurologist. One doctor had told me that they thought that I had peripheral neuropathy, and I was literally disabled. So I would not be able to pick this up. I couldn't move blankets off of me in my bed. I couldn't open the shower door. I couldn't use the computer. I couldn't do continuing education courses. I was petitioning the licensing board to give me an extension while I was trying to figure out what was wrong with my body, because I was going to lose my license if I couldn't take those classes. I mean, I was disabled. No one ever related it to breast implants. Not me, not any of my doctors, nothing. So the reason that I'm kind of telling this story and why it's relevant to BII is I moved forward with my explant. I guarded against hope that it was going to, solve any of these issues. And so many women, and it makes me angry as a women's health specialist, so many women who do recover from BII, a lot of them are kind of treated with this patronizing attitude that it's a placebo effect, that it's all in their head, and that they so badly want to believe that an explant is the cure, that it's just a very powerful placebo effect. And I like to talk about my story because it disproves that. I didn't know about BII. I wasn't explanting because of BII. I never once connected my breast implants with my disability. No one did, not at all. I explanted, I recovered. It was very difficult for me. And 3 months later, I was fine. Like, my body had to recover from the surgery, and then it got to work. And it was just losing its battle. I call it the battle against the bags. It was losing its battle, and it couldn't heal anything else on me. And once that was gone and I wasn't having the foreign body reaction, my body was able to heal. And I'm not disabled. I'm literally not disabled now. So I like to tell that part of my story, because I know so many women are in so much pain, having been gaslit, like I was, something I didn't even know about. And when you do go to a doctor and you do know about it and you're being gaslit, it is a type of medical trauma, and I also like to tell my story because of the placebo thing, because I think it kind of it just pulls the air out of that. It unplugs that power. So that's my story.
Oh my gosh. Well, and I didn't know the depths of your story at that level. And I mean, I'm so glad to hear that you are able to just function again. And wow, I mean, it's just so incredible. So thank you so much for just sharing so many details that you shared. And I connected with you because my sister also had breast cancer twice. And so I saw her go through that as well. And it's funny you mentioned about being nervous about having the surgery, because I was too. And I just remember thinking, like, what if I'm one of those people that doesn't make it through the stuff that they do? What if I don't wake up and it's all because of these boobs?
Yeah.
So I remember feeling the same thing. But I just think, gosh, I mean, I'll be honest, I've talked to a lot of women who've had BII. And it really was like the community getting in a Facebook group, seeing all the other sick women that really validated that's what it was. But the fact that you didn't do that, I mean, that's such a differentiator, because you're right. Like, there are a lot of doctors out there, unfortunately, that think that could be the reason. And
Mhm.
so you completely, make that just a moot point, and it's not true. And of course, we know that. I mean, I was sharing with you before we hit play that that was one of my things, is I dealt with horrible panic and anxiety attacks. I mean, I could not control my body from having those. And, my children witnessed that, and it was awful. I mean, I was so embarrassed. And I mean, I can think of
Ugh.
so many stories where I'd be out driving and all of a sudden I'd have this massive panic attack and I'd have to pull off the road and call my husband, and he'd have to bring one of my kids that could drive and they would have to drive the other car home.
Yeah.
So many stories of that, but literally I had my surgery and woke up and have never had a panic or anxiety attack since. And
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
amazing and crazy
Yeah.
at the same
Yeah.
time. So
I,
gosh.
I gosh, we could talk forever.
I know, I know, I know. It's so awesome. But again, just thank you for, really getting to just the heart of so many details about your journey. And I know that some of the people listening to this are going to really connect with that. So I would like to dive in next, just, so you had your explant, and, what was the hardest part for you? After that explant, talk to us a little bit more about that, and how did you help yourself get
Mhm.
through that? Because it is one of those things that you feel like you're alone, and even though I was part of a group, I still felt alone because
Mhm.
most of the people in my life, including my husband, even though he's amazing, like they just don't get it, and it's
Mhm.
just hard. So
Yeah. Yeah.
mentally, so just talk to us a little bit about, what was the hardest part for you after explant, and
Mhm.
what are some things that you did to help yourself through that?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was kind of the hardest part was leading up to explant, not so much after explant. Well, I'll answer it in two phases. So, leading up to explant, like you, Dawn, I just, some people are really scared to go under general anesthesia, and I'm one of those people. My mind can really focus on, like you, it just kept saying, what if you die over these implants? What if that's your story and your daughters have to tell this story for the rest of their life? And so I really had a lot of surgery related anxiety that was difficult for me. And I managed it using the same exact skills that I've taught women for years and years and years. So I did manage that. But I'm going to be really, really honest. What was difficult for me was, and it was humbling, it was that as I was moving toward explant, the closer I got to the table, the explant table, the volume was getting turned up in my mind and in my heart on these old, unhelpful, deeply ingrained beliefs about women, breasts, and belonging. And I I was, like I said, humbled because I'm a self-acceptance expert. And here I am with these, unwanted thoughts, unwanted feelings, and deeply ingrained beliefs. And I know the language and cognition processes that the human mind uses, and I understand why those beliefs and everything was coming into my mind. So I don't fault my mind for doing that, but it was unsettling to me to have to kind of hear all that those beliefs coming up again, the very same ones that propelled me onto the implant table, like, you're going to have to work a lot harder at being, you know engaging, like weird stuff. And I've talked to countless women about this, and when you get real and you admit your inner voice, they're like, I know, mine was doing it too. So I'm fine to talk about it. But so what was, for me, going through all of that, I was just kept thinking, what's happening to women, like what you were talking about, Dawn, like the women who are panicking and they don't know what to do for themselves? What about the women who are pre-surgery freaking out like me and they don't know what to do for themselves? What about the women who explant and they don't know how to deal with these unwanted thoughts and feelings and beliefs? What happens? And now I know what happens is sometimes they go back and they get implants, right? And I'm not judging them. It's just that this, to me, is what I kind of felt like a light was shining on me as I was going through explant and my recovery. And, and I had joined those groups and I was seeing all this suffering. And I thought, we've got to do something about this. So I used the same exact stuff that I've taught women so that I could deal with all that stuff. And then I just kind of said, I've got to, I have to help with this other aspect that is a huge part of these journeys.
No, that's so good. Well, and now it's like, as I was talking to you earlier, like, thank God you had this training. Like, thank God this is your background because, one, you were able to rationalize with yourself and the thinking that was happening. But now you get to really be a voice for so many women and just help them, go through that. And so, as you were saying that, I was like, oh my gosh, like I was going back to when I was a kid. My sister and I used to always get called breastless and chestless. We were the two sisters that had no boobs,
Yep.
and the neighborhood boys like would make fun of us, and I'll be honest, I mean, when I made the decision to get them at 45 years old, I mean, my kids were getting older, but for me it was like I love to work out. I love to be fit. And I just remember thinking like I was going to start competing because I was just really at this place of just really, working hard with a trainer, eating on point. And it's pretty sad that our society has kind of like trained us that, what, if I want to have a chance at actually winning or competing, I got to have the fake boobs. Like, who's going to
Yeah.
pick me? Like, that was, I don't know if it's the society truth or the lie that I was telling myself that I needed to have the boobs in order to win. And, but for me, I was so sick and I really thought I was dying. I mean, it was awful. That I got to this point where I was like, you know what? Like, I don't even care what I look like afterwards. Like, I did not do a lift. I did not do
Yeah.
any of that other stuff. I'm like, just get them out. And I
Mhm.
don't care if I'm flat as a board. I don't care if they're poked in, like if my nipples are inward or anything crazy. Like, I just want to be healthy. Like,
Yeah.
I just want my children to have a mom that is healthy. And so, I just really encourage all of anyone listening. And I love that what you do for a living because you're right. There's just so many people that they struggle with the confidence piece of it.
Mhm.
And just, gosh, you were created beautiful from the beginning and just do not let the boobs define you. Or the lack of boobs.
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
yeah. So Amanda, just the next question, I'm excited to really hear your response to this one. Because again, I'm so, just inspired by what you do for a living. And, as a clinical, and I got to look down because this is a big fancy word, even for a former English professor, psychotherapist, okay, who specializes in women's issues. What are some things that you started to notice when you were going through your own explant? I know you've touched on this a little bit, but just dive a little bit deeper into that because I think that's really fascinating.
Yeah. So what I started noticing, and this is again why like everything started, my background started making sense to me. I'd like the science background, the genetics with MTHFR, the public health background, being thinking about women on a population level, and then knowing the human mind the way that I do. I started seeing these journeys and hundreds of thousands of women going through these journeys. And and I hope I don't make anybody mad or offend anybody with what I'm about to say, but there's so much more than getting implants in or safely getting them out. And it really bothers me when somebody says that it's very simple, that explant, that breast implants make you sick and you explant and then you're better. I think that is just another recipe for a failure in women's health. I just do, because there's so much more to these journeys. We're talking about the most sexualized, the most objectified landmark on the human body. And so we put those in our body because we're promised that we're going to be sexy, be confident, be proportioned, feel balanced, fill out our clothes better, that we're going to feel, if you're a reconstruction with implant patient, that you're going to feel whole, you're going to feel complete. Just like you, women who compete in figure competitions, that's going to help you win. So we're given all these promises about why we should get these things in. And then, and this is what really literally kind of inspired me to do what I'm doing, when we struggle about getting them out, and you were very, very sick. And so you had a kind of a different experience, but a lot of women on these journeys, they know they're not going to keep them, or they got more than they bargained for. Or, they're kind of going back and forth forever about what are they going to do. And when we struggle with taking them out, where's the professional support? Where's the social recognition? So it's like this predatory, all these reasons we should get them in. And then if there's mental, emotional experiences when we're getting them out, and there's so many wonderful resources focused on the physical side and safely explanting, and thank God, because it's complex and very confusing and we need those resources. But I see these journeys continuing long after you explant. It's, if we repeat what we don't repair. That's the bottom line. We repeat what we don't repair. And so if we don't learn how to respond differently to those ingrained messages, socially conditioned things, if we don't learn how to take care of ourselves in a breast obsessed society, if we don't learn how to take care of ourselves and with predatory marketing, we repeat what we don't repair. And I'm not saying that we're all going to go back out and get implants, but we may continue to do things, make decisions for our body that maybe involve something invasive, maybe involve something toxic, maybe involve something that is temporary, problem prone, not appropriately studied, maybe something that is beyond our budget, right? And so for me, I saw a tremendous opportunity there's a gift with these journeys. There's a gift. And you can literally, I know it because I do this all the time with women. You can reclaim your mind and your heart. And on these journeys, your body, you can learn how to be less impacted by all that stuff. And so many women that get breast implants, if it's for augmentation or restoration or reconstruction, at some point, somebody in our life says something like, you just need to learn how to love yourself. You just need to be self-accepting. And, if we could do that, if we knew how to do that, wouldn't we do that? And so I see this opportunity of, well, you're going to go through this body changing, self-concept impacting, relationship impacting. I mean, it impacts us with our intimacy. Some of us have breast implants and we never told our children. So it impacts there's a lot of far reaching things. So if you're going to go through this journey, what if you learn to go through it as the woman you most want to be? What if you learn to go through it on your terms? And what if you build a badass self-acceptance practice, not just some concept, but you literally learn how to do it so that the rest of your life, no matter how your body changes, no matter what happens, come on, we're going to all age in a youth obsessed society, right? So what if we take these journeys as the opportunities that they are and literally empower women, give them legitimate science-based inner skills so they can prevail over all this stuff, So that's what I noticed on my explant journey with my background. I was like, this has to happen,
Gosh, I love it. Well, and I'm sitting there thinking bring on the wrinkles, baby. You know what? Hey, I know that society is all like, you need to look this way, but man, let's just age gracefully. So
yes,
I love that you
yes.
said that. Gosh, I took notes on so many things. One of my favorite things that you said was we repeat what we don't repair. And gosh, that's so stinking good. And, I think too, what fires me up and gets me just honestly frustrated is I think about all of these women and my sister, I touched on this earlier, who get breast cancer and who go through cancer. And I know I've met a woman who, reached out to me and was like, Dawn, literally, the moment that she found out she had cancer, the doctor left the room after that moment and then sent in the breast reconstruction guy with the fake boobs, asking her what size she wanted. And she's like, I was so overwhelmed. And she said, and even my own husband was like, babe, maybe you should get this. And she's like, I just found out I have cancer. What, I can't even wrap my brain around this. And thank God that she had enough, a moment to say, you know what, I don't even want to talk about this yet. Let's just focus on the cancer. And she made a decision not to get any implants. And she didn't really know why. She had never heard of breast implant illness, none of this, but I spoke at a women's event. It's probably like a year and well, before COVID. So I guess it's been several years ago, but like she came up and she's like, oh my gosh, now I know why I was so unsettled about that moment and why I decided not to get the breast implants. But that's what really fires me up too, is that all of these women who end up getting breast cancer are like literally like peer pressured into this is the next step. Like they're not even given this option of like, hey, your most toxic time, or your immune whatever, like you have cancer. This is not the time to be putting two large foreign objects in your body. And that's what jacks me up, is like, man, I want to be a bigger voice for these women who go through cancer and know that the option is no option. Like I'm not doing it. And to your point though, like that's where women like you who really help build them up and help them understand that, you know what, you don't need those to feel loved. You don't need those to feel like you matter, and you are worthy without implants. So I love the work that you're doing. And the other thing too, you were talking about all these like safe things that, that whatever. And the one thing that I was thinking when you said that is that we are also lied to that these are safe, that these are safe implants. And that is a total lie, because they're not. And, I one of my episodes, prior to this one, was with an amazing lady named Roxanne, who literally got the type of breast cancer that is caused from the implants. They have now admitted that. So, gosh, just the lies that we are being told. But anyway, so I know you got me all fired up in a good way. Okay, so question number 4. And again, I have so much respect for you. And, the other thing that fires me up, and I hope I don't offend anybody, is that there are so many women who get them out and they don't tell anybody. And it's like, but yet they found out about it from someone. And I found out about it from a woman named Robin. I thank God for her every day. Her daughter went to school with my daughter. And it's like, how could I not be a voice? How could I not share with the world about what's happened so that I can help other women figure this out, right? And so, unfortunately, there are a lot of women that they get them out and they don't tell anybody. And it's like, man, like if you're listening to this and you're thinking about getting yours out, or if maybe you've already had them out, please be brave and share your story. And Amanda, what you are doing, not only are you sharing your story, but you are doing work that matters and that is making a difference in this community. And I see us on stages someday sharing this and really just helping women in so many different capacities. But tell us, like, how are you using your personal experience, your professional expertise to help other ladies as they navigate, through their own journeys? And then, of course, I want to make sure, and it'll be in the show notes, you guys, like how you can follow, Amanda, how you can connect with her. So just know that will be there, but just let us know how we can continue to learn from you.
Okay. Yeah. So what I did, like I said, in my personal journey, I was just using those evidence-based inner skills that I've taught, countless women over my career. I'm an acceptance and commitment therapy practitioner. And you say it as ACT, like a word. So I'm an ACT practitioner. It's got over 900, super legit studies showing its effectiveness to ease human suffering across all kinds of things. So from something like test taking anxiety to things like very serious PTSD in soldiers, right? So I have translated everything from my private psychotherapy practice. I took all of that stuff and I translated it to what I call the breast implant through explant journey. And so I've made that, it's a whole program and I call it BRIGHT. So the breast implant through explant journey. So I translated everything from ACT specifically to women that have breast implants. They're coming to terms with getting more than they bargained for. maybe they're facing that decision to replace or remove, or women who've already explanted and they were supported physically and they know they've got more work to do. They've got some other stuff to do to fully really reclaim all of themselves from the experience. So I developed a program, and I've just been working on it so hard for the last couple of years. And what I decided to do was translate it all into a self-help book, because that's something that's easy for people to get. It's at a very affordable price point, and they can work through it on their own. And then of course they can, I have a little tiny Facebook group that I recently started. They can join that. And I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff and being very accessible to women who buy the book and are going through it, because you're going to be reading about it. It's packed with inner skills and tools for women to learn, so that when they're going through this journey, no matter where they're at, even if you're like in that honeymoon phase where you've got breast implants in your body and you're really enjoying them, you can be working to reclaim your mind from all of the stuff that we've all been taught to believe about breasts and belonging and women and all that stuff. So I've designed it so that if your life's been touched by breast implants, this book speaks to you. And if you have them for augmentation or reconstruction, this book speaks to you. I made it so that, like, when you come to me one-on-one as a person, we do a session, we do experiential things, and then I just make sure that you know how to take that into your real life. Like, doing stuff in session one-on-one and then not knowing how to apply it, it really doesn't translate to change. And so I kind of maintained that commitment as I wrote this book, that I wanted the reader to be able to know, what is she doing? Why does she need to do it? When should she do it? How should she do it? And so that book is going to be coming out this summer. And people can find out about it either by following me on social. So like on Instagram, and my handle there is at Dr. Amanda Savage Brown with a dot after doctor. So you can follow me there. I have a Facebook group, and it'll be in the stuff on your podcast. So I have a Facebook group that you can join, but probably the best way is to just go to my website, which is just my name. So it's amandasavagebrown.com. And, there's a lot of different resources there. There's a blog there that I'm working on. And I'm planning to just bring so many free resources there. Guided experientials, guided audios, different worksheets and templates, and they're just going to be freely accessible to help women with this experience. So that's really it. You can sign up for my newsletter, which I really don't like funneling or spamming or anything like that. So if you sign up, you're just going to really be, I call it, kept abreast of my book. And eventually I'll be sharing like special blogs and things with that. But that's really it. Writing the book, getting it out, and then I'm going to be offering, like additional learnings from it, because even though my book is kind of, for the whole journey for everybody that's on it, I do women who are explanting to flat after double mastectomy. That's a different inner experience than a woman who's explanting after augmentation. And it's also a very different inner experience if you long ago explanted and your mind is really pushing you around, and you're just, I say things like, if none of us think to ourselves, after I explant, I really just want to have, I call it t-shirt sex in the dark. You know what I mean? Like, that's not our goal, and if you're really getting pushed around afterwards, then you have a different set of needs too. So I'm hoping to kind of offer different things that can help women connect with each other, but then also have assistance from me in learning all of these evidence-based things that can really help them kind of reclaim themselves from the inside out.
Yeah, I love that. And guys, go check out her website. I told her the other day, I'm like, this is one of the prettiest websites I've ever seen. And she's got so many great blog articles. And, and when I think about, like, it's been almost 3 years since I had my explant. And even then, 3 years ago, the waiting lists to have your surgery done. I mean, it was pretty intense. I mean, there are doctors, I can think of like Dr. Fang up in Cleveland, who she had almost a year waiting list. I mean, that's how many people, are getting theirs out. And that doesn't even like include the people that are sick that can't even afford to get theirs out.
I know.
And
I
so it's
know.
like there are so many women who are waking up and they are getting them out. And so think about just there's so many people that are going to need your book. I mean, that are going
I
to need.
know.
Yeah.
I think about that. It's like, because now we know, and unfortunately there are, I don't know because nobody tracks it, but
Right.
there's a lot of women right now who have breast implants who still think that they're lifetime devices.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of women who have the gummy bear implants. Silicone is placed, I can't remember which year it was, if it was 2020, 2021, but 85% of the implants that were placed were silicone, and so a lot of women think that those do behave like gummy bear. And so if there's a rupture, it's going to literally look like a gummy bear, but that we've seen pictures. Mine was ruptured. Mine was liquefied. Mine was dripping, and so that there's a lot of women that have misinformation, but there's a lot of women also that they're getting them now and they know that they aren't one and done. And, it's inevitable that you're going to have to choose to replace or remove.
Yeah.
And so that is, for me, I'm not here to tell anybody what to do or to push an agenda. I'm absolutely not here to judge any woman for what she does with her body.
Yeah.
But I am here to help you be in charge of your journey, for you to make the decisions, not society.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do, because they're all going to have to choose replace or remove, replace or remove. And right now we live in a time where society is offering us temporary, problem prone, inappropriately studied devices. And so if I can help women kind of prevail over that predatory messaging and really get that awesome homecoming feeling to your body, and then it's rough after explant. You go to the store and you're trying to buy a bra or a bathing suit top, and I want to help women through that. So
yeah. Well, and you touched on something else too that I know that I've struggled with, and it's interesting. I found just some training on Facebook a couple months ago, and this woman, she was talking about, she calls them owls. They're these old wire loops
that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'd never heard it explained that way. And I was like, I mean, granted, I had breast implants, obviously, but then I also had a lot of old amalgam fillings. So I've been through like dental, like hell for years, going to a holistic dentist in New York City because I had a metal dental implant put in. And so my body was reacting to that. So I've been on this dental journey. Like I literally have like no teeth back here because I'm getting the implants put on as my next visit, but they're non-metal. I go to a special guy. But my whole point is like, for years, I've been having these old wire loops. Like I wake up every morning, like, oh, what's wrong with me today? Like what, I mean, and even though I feel so much better, I mean, I'm like a different person than when I was really sick. I still have these, like my brain wants to search for symptoms all the time. And then, and I got in this period where I was like going to Google. Google was my doctor. And it's like, I've had to really retrain my brain, so to speak, because that is, I mean, I'm 3 years out and, I'm doing better, but it does like what the work, as I'm saying, like the work you are doing, it matters. And there's, just like you said, it's not like you get them out and you're good. Like there is a healing on the inside and the outside that has to happen. And, I just started going to a chiropractor, and it was so interesting because I still, like I feel great, but every once in a while I get like this nerve pain right down my back. And granted, I'm almost 51 and I'm working out again and everything. But he was said a couple weeks ago, he goes, Dawn, when you had those breast implants taken out, did you ever do any type of like, physical like therapy, like under, and I'm like, no. And he's like, oh my gosh, the scar tissue that you probably have there. He's like, you should have gone to someone.
No, it's so upsetting. I know.
And
I didn't do anything either.
I didn't. And and so it's like, and granted, he has like really fixed everything. So just a few chiropractor visits and I'm feeling so much better. But like, I guess, like I just didn't realize how in depth the surgery is going through that muscle, taking him out. And so I know that's just a little side topic I got on, but I mean, there's a lot of ownership to your point. There's a lot of ownership of your healing that
Mhm.
you really need to take. And so please, you guys, be on the lookout for her book. Go to her website, sign up for I'm assuming they can sign up for the newsletter.
Yeah, I call it Bright Insiders. So
Okay.
you can sign up for that. And like I
Perfect.
said, I vow
Yeah.
I will never spam or funnel
Yeah.
people.
Oh, yeah.
It just doesn't do any. It
Yeah.
kind of defeats the point because then nobody wants to hear from you. So,
Exactly.
so
Well,
yeah,
totally.
I have a free ebook on my website that I really encourage women to
Oh,
download
man.
as well. So it takes 5 like science-backed ways that you can kind of harness the two-way relationship between your body and your mind and use the calming part of your nervous system to steady yourself.
Mhm.
And one of the reasons I made that my first free resource is that, like what you were talking about, Dawn, like the panic attacks on the side of the road, when we're going through this journey, we can get overwhelmed. You can get overwhelmed sitting in a consult office,
Yeah.
when you walk in and there's the display of the breast implants,
Mhm.
or you're sitting there and there's a woman who's freshly augmented or reconstructed and you're getting ready to have this loss, and so I really wanted women to have this resource that I call it your inner break. And the BRAKE stands for what you're doing with your body. And so it's a mnemonic that you can learn and
Yeah.
take the skill on the go. And so really encourage, if you're anywhere on this journey and you tend to get overwhelmed, and honestly, we all do at different times, and there's no shame in that. This is, your mind interprets the surgery as a threat, and mine interpreted as a threat because of fear of being put under, and other people interpret it as a threat because their partner might leave them,
Mhm.
and other people interpret it as a threat because they're literally losing breast mounts. They're not going to have them anymore. And so your mind it's going to amp up. And so that's why I created this and offer it freely and encourage women to download it and learn it. And if you have questions, if you get confused, reach out to me. Like I talk to people all the time on this journey, so if you get questions, if you get lost, just reach out. I'm happy to help.
Ah, I love your heart. You're so awesome. Thank you so much for just providing all of that support. And so we've had just an awesome conversation today. And, again, I just can't wait to share this. And so many women need to hear this. And even if you found this and you don't have breast implants, like I said, but you know somebody that needs to hear this message, please, please share that with them. So, I
Mm.
just, Amanda, I want to give you kind of, the last word here, just with what, some closing things on your heart that maybe just popped into your brain as we were talking today that you would just really like to leave the listeners with. So I would love for you to just share your heart about that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I want women to know that as they're going through this journey, so many women will say, I made this bed, I did this to myself,
Mhm.
I'm being vain, I shouldn't complain. And I don't see it that way at all. You didn't make this bed. Nobody signs up for breast implants, whether it's augmentation or nobody signs up and says, I hope this doesn't work out for me.
Mhm.
Nobody signs up and says, you know, I hope these problems happen. Or nobody does it to themselves, right? So let yourself off the hook with that, you know. And the last thing that we need as we're going through this is more shame, and about the women that don't talk about their journeys, and that's okay. Maybe there's different reasons. Maybe there's internalized shame that they ever got breast implants, or maybe there's family members or people important in their life that they've never told about it. And we all have such different contexts that we bring to these journeys. So I just really want to encourage women, I think we need to be building a huge, strong net that just supports and catches all of us, no matter where we are on these journeys. women do better. We are wired literally for connection and community. And we want to know that we're talking to somebody who knows our journey, who knows our suffering. And so if you're going through this journey, please try to catch internalized shame. Please try to, be gentle with yourself, look at your full context, and try to follow people that lift you up, that inspire you, that support you, and empower you to make decisions that are best for your body on your time schedule. Just like that story you were telling me about that woman, or telling us about the woman being pressured right after cancer and get those implants. And don't follow people like that. Like, be gentle with yourself. These are, they're very serious surgeries with far-reaching impacts, and you can end up totally reclaiming your life. And, like you and I were both, you're 3 years out, I'm 3.5 years out, and zero regret. I would do it again over and over. I'd face that pain. I would literally face all that stuff once a year for the rest of my life. If it meant that I was going to plug back in, come back to being alive, and actually be pain-free. It's amazing to me. So no shame, connect, be with good people, and take care of yourself as you're moving through the journey.
That's so good. And I have to tell you, you just changed my perspective on something that I always preach. And again, you have so much more wisdom with this than I do. And I've always been like, you need to share your story. You got to pay it forward. And just listening to you share, I'm like, like you said, like there might be people out there that like, I don't know what their background is, or like you said, maybe their family doesn't even know. Like, that's such a great point. So I want to reiterate what I said about that. Not reiterate, I want to rephrase what I said, because you're right. There might be people that they're just not comfortable sharing. And so I'm so glad you said that, because it's really got me to rethink just my approach with it. But you know what, like there are people like Amanda and myself, who we do feel called to share. And and so if you don't, that's okay too. So we're all walking in our own healing journey. So I'm so glad you said that, because
for Breast Implant Illness Awareness Today this year, with my Facebook group, I said, there's all different kinds of ways that you can act on this day. If you can't go forward on your social media account or talk, if there's extenuating circumstances, there's other ways you can act on this day, and just being creative about that. You can learn something more, you can educate yourself more, you can make a donation to a group that you trust, that is helping people. You can go in and just participate in groups or talk one-on-one with women in your group. There's so many different ways that we can be part of that net, and part of this healing. And it is literally going to take all of us, being really supportive and loving, to get where we need to get with this.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, I mean, we're all just kind of bring different strengths and different things, so it's so good. But well, awesome. Well, hopefully at some point we'll truly get to bring that whole net of women together in person at some point. I know that's a vision and a dream that Amanda and I both share. So hopefully that will be something to fruition. So
let's do it, Dawn.
I know, I'm so fired up. Just amazing how God is just bringing people together. So I'm excited about that. But anyways, just thank you guys again for listening today. And thank you, Amanda, for just, sharing your wisdom and your heart, and just taking time out of your super busy life to come on here, just because, just to add value and support. And again, I hope you guys go check out her website. I can't wait. And I hope that my book has an autograph when I order mine. So I can't.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I can't wait for your book. I'm already like in my brain. So my little entrepreneurial brain's like, oh my gosh, like you need to call all these explant doctors, let them know about your book. Maybe it could be like a little care package that goes home with them on the day of their explant.
Oh my gosh. Or the day, it needs to go home the day of consult.
Yeah,
it really does.
Yes.
That way.
Like, oh,
yeah.
Like, I mean, I can't even imagine if I would have had something like that. Like,
I know, because I can only do so much one-on-one with women. That's
Right.
it. That's why I really want the book to get
Yeah.
out there, and
Yeah.
then you get to the book, you can see,
Mhm.
there's a chapter on seeing beyond your breast related self-concept. There's a chapter on, how do you step away from these deeply
Mhm.
ingrained beliefs? There's another one on learning how to like companion your pain instead of abandoning it. Like there's such good stuff in there. And,
Yeah.
if you can look at it and you get questions, reach out. But I just want the women to have the book, otherwise we just get so pushed around by all this stuff. And like I said, it long after Explant, like it
Right.
just
Right.
keeps
So
going.
good, so
So
good.
yeah.
Well, thank you again. This has been absolutely amazing. And just thank you again for everyone listening. And we'll be, like I said, Amanda's the first one back, and I've got guests lined up for like the next 6 podcasts. So excited every month
Exciting.
to bring you, I know, to bring, just people on here to help you all. So thank you. Be blessed. And thanks again, Amanda.